I'm Russell Gurr, and this is For the Record.
Today is a time travel episode. What we call classical music is divided into broad periods, just like regular history. And when we talk about classical music history, we are talking specifically about music that was written down and notated, as opposed to all of the folk music that was passed along orally from person to person.
La 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 la. Ra 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 ra.
Okay, so why is it interesting to know about musical time periods? For me, the first and biggest reason is the title of this episode, Time Travel. Hearing music from centuries ago is a way of visiting that time in the present, and not just reading about it, but actually experiencing it. We get to understand what the world sounded like back then. Let me give you an example. One of my professors once said to me before a concert, imagine you're a peasant farmer 700 years ago in the 14th century. You live in a single room clay house with a dirt floor, a small wooden door, and a tiny thatched window. When you're out in the field, the only thing you hear is the sound of your own tools digging in the soil and an occasional animal grunt or bird call. You might sometimes sing or hum to yourself to pass the time, which is really the only music you ever hear. Then imagine the impact of walking into church on a Sunday, into this vast stone building with enormous vaulted ceilings, ornate works of art and sculpture, and huge stained glass windows. And then imagine what it must have sounded like when the choir began to sing, hidden from view in a loft, their chants echoing through the whole stone chamber. They would have sounded like God's own heavenly choir. This blew my mind. For the first time, really understanding how people from centuries ago heard the music of their own time. So let's begin exactly at this point in history, in the medieval period, roughly the 6th century to the 15th century, which is like 1,000 years. The music is almost all Catholic religious vocal music, written as one single line to be used in prayer. Think about that. It's all religious music, which shows just how massively influential the church was in European life for a millennium. The church was the foundation of Europe. Think for a second about how you say goodbye in Italian, French, and Spanish. Addio, adieu, and adios. All of them mean unto God. So religion is even woven into the fabric of everyday language. Now, one of the first ever significant composers was an extraordinary priestess named Hildegard from Bingen in Germany. Hildegard was brilliantly clever, one of the first ever natural scientists. In fact, she is credited as the founder of the study of natural science in Germany. She was also a medical practitioner, a philosopher, a poet, and of course, a musician. Her music is composed in what's called monophony, mono meaning one and phone meaning voice or sound. So monophony is one voice. The way it looks on the page, what we call the notation, appears very different from modern music because notation was still very new back then. Instead of notes, they were called neumes, which were collections of pitches with no rhythm. And it really only gives you an approximation of how the melody goes. It doesn't give you a speed or even a specific starting note. Nowadays, you have to have expert knowledge to accurately even read it. For instance, I can't. In the following examples, you can hear how very different some performances of exactly the same piece can sound, because the notation is so much less developed than it is today. Here is a part of the Latin Mass set by Hildegard von Bingen. And here is another example of the same piece. These historical mirrors, these profound expressions of humanity always remain relevant. They are a living window into the past and help us to piece together a context for our own history and the world we live in today. History is not simply an exploration of the past, but an explanation of the present. As always, please leave your comments below, hit subscribe, like the video, check back soon for the next episode. I'm Russell Gurr and this is For The Record. Thanks for watching.